If you've ever walked into a room and known something was wrong before anyone said a word, you already know this isn't overthinking. It's what psychology calls high perceptual sensitivity. And once you understand what it actually is, a lot of things about you start making sense. Point 1. You catch what others miss. You notice the pause before someone answers, the shift in tone, the smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. This happens because your brain processes sensory and social information more deeply than average, a trait researchers call high sensory processing sensitivity. You're not imagining the details, you're actually encoding more of them. It feels like you're watching a slightly different movie than everyone else in the room, and in a way, you are. Point 2. You know something's off before you're told. You walk in, and before anyone explains anything, you already know the mood has shifted. This comes from reading micro-expressions and tone shifts almost automatically, without consciously trying to. It's less mind reading and more pattern recognition running in the background at all times. It can feel eerie, even to you, like you're ahead of a conversation that hasn't started yet. Point 3. You remember details other people forget. You remember what someone was wearing, what song was playing, the exact sentence that changed the tone of a conversation. This is a direct result of how much attention you're paying in the moment. Deeper encoding at the time of the event means stronger recall later. Other people weren't necessarily present for the same conversation you were. It's useful, and it's also why some memories stick around longer and heavier than you'd like. Point 4. You can tell when something doesn't add up. You can't always explain how, but you know when someone's words and their energy don't match. This is called incongruence detection. Your brain cross-checking tone, body language, timing, and word choice against each other, and flagging the mismatch, even when you can't point to exactly what tipped you off. It's one of the most useful things about you, and one of the hardest to explain to people who don't experience it. Point 5. Group settings drain you faster than they should. You can be fine 1 minute at a gathering and completely depleted the next, even if nothing happened. That's because you're not just having a conversation. You're simultaneously tracking 6 people's tone, body language, and emotional undercurrents at once. That's a lot of processing running in parallel, and it has a cost. By the time you get home, you're not tired from socializing. You're tired from absorbing. Point 6. You second-guess what you already know. You'll sense something is wrong, and then immediately talk yourself out of trusting it. This happens because perceptive people are often told early on that they're too sensitive or reading into things. So the instinct gets there first, but the confidence to act on it doesn't always follow. The frustrating part isn't being wrong, it's being right and doubting yourself anyway. Point 7. You end up managing everyone else's emotions. Because you notice when someone's upset, even when no one asked you to. This is a form of invisible emotional labor. Picking up on distress activates a caretaking response, and over time, that response turns into a default role, the one who checks in, the one who reads the room for everyone else. It's exhausting to carry a job nobody assigned you, especially when almost no one notices you're doing it. Point 8. You've been called too much for noticing what others don't. At some point, someone's told you that you're overthinking, too sensitive, or too intense for noticing something that turned out to be true. That reaction usually says more about their comfort with being seen clearly than it does about you. Perceptiveness isn't a flaw to be managed down. It's a form of attentiveness that most people simply don't have. The discomfort was never proof you were wrong. It was proof you were paying attention. Every one of these comes from the same place, a mind that's constantly reading the room, whether you want it to or not. That's not something to apologize for. That's something to learn how to manage on your terms, instead of everyone else's. If this sounded like you, you've probably spent years being told you're too much. You're not. You're just paying attention to a world most people are moving through half asleep.